Many years ago, a young boy named Christopher Robin explored the 100-acre forest and encountered a group of strange creatures: Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, Rabbit, and Owl. These creatures are neither fully human nor fully animal. Christopher befriends them and challenges the threats, and their relationship gets stronger over time. Now many years have passed, and Christopher finally makes the very difficult decision to leave his friends and go to college to become a doctor. Without Christopher feeding them or giving them any guidance, and with the arrival of winter, Pooh, Piglet, Rabbit, and Owl starves to the extreme, killing and eating one of their fellow, Eeyore. As a result, the group traumatized to such an extent that they began to hate everything related to humans and as well as Christopher for leaving them to suffer. The group vowed never to speak again, and made a pact to abandon their humanity and return to their wild instincts. Then the movie jumps to 5 years later, showing a grown-up Christopher, accompanied by his fiancée, Mary, as he returns to the 100-acre forest to reunite with his old friends. But Mary believes that they are all imaginary friends in Christopher's mind. Shortly after, Christopher hears voices and finally arrives at the place where he used to play as a child. Mary finds this all strange, so she asks him to come back, but Christopher says he wants to know what's going on here and assures that they're totally safe. However, the piglet attacks Mary after a while and kills her to death with a chain. Terrified, Christopher tries to run away, but is cornered by Pooh and Piglet, who drag him back into the forest. Then we see Maria with her therapist, and she says that when she is in the office or in a crowd, she feels like someone is around her. Her therapist advises her to go to a quiet place where she feels safe and can get away from whatever is bothering her. Then Maria and her friends Jess, Alice, Zoe, and Laura rent a cabin in the 100-acre woods, and they all decide not to use their phones while they're on the vacation. Meanwhile, another friend of Maria's, Tina, gets lost on her way to the cabin, and when she tries to contact them, she discovers that their number are unreachable. Later, she gets freaked out when she sees Pooh, and Pooh starts chasing her. Tina then runs to an abandoned factory and hides there, but Pooh finds her and strips her naked, and then he grinds her with a wood chisel. Later, Christopher has been held prisoner by Pooh at his treehouse, and Pooh tells him that people won't be able to understand him because he doesn't understand himself. Now Pooh becomes sad listening his story and begins to recall a childhood moment when Christopher said he would always be with him. But then his grief turns to anger, and he begins to viciously beat him with Eeyore's severed tail. Christopher then sees Mary's dead body in the corner of the room, and Pooh splashes his blood on him in revenge for leaving his former friends to fend for themselves. As night falls, Pooh's attention is drawn to loud music coming from the cabin, and we see Laura relaxing in the hot tub. Pooh and Piglet find the cabin and make Laura unconscious, and then they kidnap her. When she wakes up, she finds herself tied up in the middle of the street. Shortly after, Piglet comes over and puts his paw on her, while Pooh slowly rams the car into Laura's head, smacking her skull. Maria and Jess hear a noise and find a car there, and as they head towards the cabin, they are horrified to see Laura's body there. They run into the cabin and find it covered in blood and inform Alice and Zoe that Laura is dead. Maria says they should call the police, but then they hear a noise outside and are afraid to see Pooh there. Now they were trying to figure out what it was when suddenly the lights go off in the cabin. Alice and Zoe then go to lock the door so they can't get inside, but Piglet walks in, knocks Alice out, and Zoe falls into the pool. Piglet then also enters the pool with a hammer, and Zoe tries to escape, but he kills her by blowing her head off. Maria and Jess then find her body and watch as Pooh and Piglet take Alice and decide to follow them into the forest to save her. The scene now cuts to Pooh's warehouse, where we see Alice as a prisoner and Pooh eating honey. Alice wakes up and is frightened to find herself there, and then Pooh comes to her and knocks her unconscious again. Later, Maria and Jess arrive there to rescue Alice, and when they leave, they hear someone screaming. There, they find Christopher, seriously injured, begging for their help. So Maria and her friends free him as well before they hear someone calling for help. Then they find another hostage named Charlene, whose husband Scott has already been murdered by Piglet. They free her as well, and as they are about to leave, Charlene says she won't leave until she kills the Piglet. Charlene tries to get revenge and invites Piglet to kill her, but Pooh overpowers her and Piglet crushes her to death. Seeing this, Maria and Jess are horrified and run away, but Alice stays behind and knocks the pig out with a hammer. She binds him in chains and begins to torture him. Hearing Piglet's cry, Pooh runs back to the treehouse, only to find him already dead. Enraged, Pooh confronts Alice with a knife and fatally slams her into the wall through her open mouth. Maria and Jess then run to the road, where they stop a car driven by 4 local men to ask for help. They tell them that Pooh is coming to kill them, however, they didn't believe it. But just then, they see Winnie there and couldn't tell if it is a human or a bear. They think some weirdos are harassing the girls and move towards him with guns. One of them hits him with a crowbar, but it has no effect on him. Despite the men trying to outrun him, Pooh easily kills them one by one until Maria tries to run him over with a car. However, Pooh climbs into the car and Maria falls into a tree, losing her consciousness. When she wakes up, she sees Jessie being decapitated by Pooh, which scares her and she tries to run away, but the car won't start. Pooh then pulls Maria out of the car and tries to kill her until Christopher appears driving another car, apparently crushing him to death between the 2 cars. Christopher tries to help Maria, but the surviving Pooh wakes up and climbs out from between the cars and grabs Maria with a knife. Christopher begs Pooh to spare her and promises to spend the rest of his life with him in the 100-acre woods. Pooh slowly lowers the knife, but then breaks his vow of silence and tells Christopher, "You left," before slitting Maria's throat. As Maria slowly bleeds out, Christopher realizes that Pooh is now helpless and flees as Pooh repeatedly stabs the corpse. So that's the end of our movie. If you've come this far, make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe my channel. See you later.